talked about the royalties being 3 to 5%.
Now I wonder, now I know why, because I was wondering if that amount of money, the company that is mining copper in Zambia has assets in billions of dollars. And the country that owns the copper doesn't have 10 billion in its reserves. So that tells a story. But you have to be brave enough to say, I'm going to accept this, I will not accept this. For me, I made it very clear. They told me, I told you they cited other countries that accepted 3% or less. And I said, that is not the Gambia. So my only crime with the West is standing up to them to say, I'm going to defend Africa. They can call me any name they want. They can pay Gambians or other people to criticize me, I don't give a damn. What I care about is the welfare of my people, the dignity of my people, and whatever is in this country was given to us by God. Unfortunately, the British sold the greater part of my country from an elephant, they turned it into a snake. But this is what we accept today as the will of God. But Gambia will never be enslaved again or colonized again. That is never going to happen. And I wish that my colleagues in Africa would also stand up and ensure that their countries are not enslaved or colonized. Now, is it physical colonization or colonization in whatever form? Be it in the exploitation of your mineral resources or whatever. Because then they come to you, what I find insulting, that is why most of the time, in fact, I don't talk to them. I refer them to the officials that are responsible. They come to you as if they are doing a favor for you to exploit your resources. So they give you the impression that, oh yeah, this is the only chance I have this is God coming to me, so I should grab it. You grab it, you'll be producing and your people are becoming poorer. And then, at the end of the day, they will say you took everything. They say, massive corruption, he's a dictator. If you are working for them, and you outlive your usefulness, they turn against you and call you a dictator. In 1978, in our school, high school, 79, yeah, I remember in my Form 2, we had a school assembly on Monday. It's the year assembly, and then religious or house, what we call house assembly on Wednesdays. Now, the principal assembled us, and there was this big poster of Mobutu. And so Mobutu, what he had to tell us was that Mobutu was the 7th richest man in the world in 1979. He was the most important ally of the United States of America and the West. And he prolonged apartheid. I remember the one country that paid a high price for the liberation of Southern Africa is Zambia, where which allowed bases for the early liberation, all the freedom fighters in that part of the world. And he paid a high price for it. Mobutu was the bastion of all anti-African, was the headquarters of all anti-African elements, and elements that supported apartheid, sponsored by the West. South Africa was free to use Zaire to attack. He was the most important ally of the West. When he outlived his usefulness, Mobutu, that white people used to call Papa Mobutu, was a banger and other titles, was buried by 4 people in Morocco. He was turned to a dictator. They brought in somebody they were fighting against in those days because he was a socialist or revolutionary, and now they used him to get rid of some of their own allies. Why can't Africans learn lessons from that? If they can betray Mobutu, who served them so faithfully to the detriment of independence of Namibia and other countries, they one day got up and say, oh, he's a dictator and he must go. But just recently they did it to somebody also, who used to be a good friend of mine.
Are you referring to
No.
Libya?
No, far from Libya. But I used to tell them, why don't we learn from what they did to the South of Iran? South of Iran, then Mobutu of Zaire. And then recently somebody of somewhere. And we Africans always go, why can't we worship God and instead of human beings? Well, so these resources, today you can only blame African leaders for what is going on. How is it possible that Qatar, that started 98, Qatar was just almost like the Gambia. Today Qatar is, I used to say, I used to tell the Emir of Qatar that I'll compete him because we are small countries. But I didn't know that there are such massive gas, and they are exploiting, we are not exploiting. But the good thing is that by the time we start, they would have exhausted their ideas, and then we will emerge as a new base. So, but my dear, the problem is, these resources, we, the African leaders, deprive our people from benefiting from them. This is the problem. Because if they come and give you 5% and tell you how much the president is going to get annually, and you start thinking, oh yeah, you'll be a wealthy person. Yes. It doesn't belong to the president, it belongs to the people of the Gambia. So, I will not accept 10% on behalf of the Gambian people. What am I going to tell them? 10%, they take 90%. Because today, in the case of the oil, we know the cost per barrel. So now if you tell me that there are, even, let's say 1 billion barrels, the list, 1 billion barrels of oil. 1 billion barrels multiplied by $100 per barrel. You have $100 billion. And what you use to drill the well and whatever, all the capital expenditure is less than 2 billion. So why do you expect me to accept 10% or 5% when if it is 2 billion, you need maybe 5-6 years? Why would you want me to accept 5% for 35 years? Do you understand? So it is a choice. Unfortunately for most of us, when we want to be president, we talk about the people. We talk to the people. We say, oh, you are the people, you are this and that. Once becoming president, we say, oh, the West is God. If I don't please the West, I will not rule for a long time. It's God. And as long as Africans turn their backs on God and their own people, this status quo is going to continue, unfortunately. We have countries that are massively rich in mineral resources. On a daily basis, billions of dollars are being taken out of those countries.
How would the question of living in a so-called globalized world where you would need to work with partners in the world in terms of bringing in investment to help develop the natural resources, for example, how does it work in terms of working with other nations, investors, and just creating the so-called climate of conducive climate of investment opportunities for business and development?
Well, living in a globalized village doesn't mean that we should be, Africans should be subjected to servitude or being subservient to whatever. We are the punch bag of every Western dog, and it's unacceptable. Now, being in the Western, in the global village doesn't mean also that all the rest are bad. I'm not saying that all companies are bad. We have to make choices. Unfortunately, we subjugate ourselves to other powers and worship them, so they tell us who we should work with. This is where independence is very important. Let us believe in God and work within the global village, work with people that have a conscience and have moral values, and they know that this wealth belongs to Africans. Many times you might have heard the saying, oh, in fact, mainland China gives to African dictators without regard to human rights violation.
I was going to come to that.
And then they turn around the corner, run to China and say, if you don't bail us out, our tails are on fire.